Throwing middle, caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs.
In his third season from Alabama, number 0, Jahmyr Gibbs.
All right. I think we're okay. Let me know in the chat if it changes, but I think I figured it out. The dual vertical and horizontal was turned on, and I think that's what was killing it. So we are going to go without that. I'll just have to figure out how to re-add that back in because some people like to watch the vertical on their phones versus the horizontal. I'm just going to have to make a change. Doesn't look like we have a lot of people in. Hopefully we'll get some people in here soon. During the rest of the week, I'm probably going to go a lot earlier. I really wanted to get going by about 5. And I could even go earlier than that as I get all my updates and I get a lot quicker here throughout the week. So just pay attention. Make sure you got notifications on. And, of course, if we get any breaking news today while we're live, we will let you know. The other thing that I was just thinking about is the Lions have we have a preseason game here in 9 days. And without Vaki, and now adding another running back, and no Gibbs, which he wouldn't probably play in that game anyway. The Lions are kind of hurting, right? No tight ends, very few. We have many missing. We have running backs down. It's not a great place to be, headed into your first preseason game, but it's just preseason. And every team is feeling it right now. There's a lot of injuries happening around the league. And I think I said this morning, but I'm just going to say it again. For those that they were really concerned about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, really Dan Campbell having too hard of practices and going too tough. Look, man, they haven't even done anything but 2 days of pads, and the majority of all the injuries came before the pads, right? So it's not hitting, has nothing to do with that. It quite simply just is injuries happen. It's part of football. It's part of the game. You can't do anything about it, unfortunately. Calf strains, hamstrings, groin pulls, that's all part of it. I guess, in my article today, and I think I said it earlier today as well, I just don't know why. Like, if you're really trying to protect these players, like, how come none of them are wearing those clear visors? Some of them are, and some of them are wearing colored visors, but that would have protected Vaki's eye. You don't want to see that happen to Hutch, right? You don't want to see a Blake Miller hand end up in his face or, Penei Sewell's hand end up in his face. But part of training camp, stupid things happen because you have players that are like fish out of water. They're flopping around. They're trying to learn their dance. And when that doesn't happen right away, bad stuff happens. A lot of injuries happen because you have, rookies or young players that are out of position, that aren't playing well, that their hands slip. Now, I don't know exactly what happened with Vaki. I know he took a hand to the face, but don't know how it happened, right? I don't know how it happened. So whatever the case may be, I think that, there should be a better conversation happening with why not just add more equipment to your face to, hopefully protect, from this happening again. Or if you're like the refs, you're just going to throw those errant flags on us for hands to the face, right? And in our player off opportunities over a decade ago. Sorry, I just had to do that real quick. I'm sure that hurt. All of you are feeling that one right now. Hands to the face. My God. All right. So today, let's get through it. Let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. So let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs first. I just put out a video a little while ago. Plenty of you have seen it already, but the thing that I wanted to add is back in May, and I said this in the video, back in May, I predicted this. I predicted that if Bijan Robinson got his deal first, that is when we're going to see an explosion for Jahmyr Gibbs' contract. Now, he doesn't have his contract yet, but it's happening, right? I mean, they can't be more than a few hours away, at most a couple of days away, you would think, before this extension is done. Now, back on May 9th, let me pull up my old article. I should have posted it in the posts. Let me pull up my old article here. Let's take a look at it. Just real quick. All right, so here, let me fix that. Back on May 9th, I put out this article that, and I think I did a video with it, and people were trying to say, like, I'm putting out clickbait. No. This isn't clickbait. This is predictions. And in my whole take on this thing, I'm just going to read through it. Just my take on this whole Gibbs contract deal. I said the Lions should not treat Gibbs like a traditional running back contract. And that is how teams miss the point. Right? Gibbs is not just a handoff and run the ball type of a player. He is a matchup nightmare and a scoring weapon that changes what defenses do because they have to account for him on every play, right? And any spot on the field, no matter where he's lined up. And what that fifth-year option picked up, that Detroit likely gets, this done in one of two ways. Either a new 4-year deal that replaces the option structure, or a 3-year extension stacked on top of the 5th-year option. Those are the only two ways that I see this happening. I'd be blown away if they did a 5-year deal. I don't think that would happen with a running back. You're just asking for trouble. So if the Lions value Gibbs at 4 years, $76 million on a 4-year deal. Now, if you do the math on that, that's like what, $21.5 million-ish per year. That, including the 5th-year option, that would essentially work like a 3-year, $61 million extension. Gibbs' contract may feel expensive today, but if Robinson signed first, what I put right here, if Robinson signed first, or if Petzing turns Gibbs loose in 26, that same number is going to look like a discount in 2027. Well, I don't think we're going to be waiting until 2027. So the question is really no longer whether Gibbs is getting paid. The question is whether Detroit wants to set the number before someone else does. Brad has been first every other time with the players that he signed. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Aiden Hutchinson, Penei Sewell. I mean, he's gotten in front of everybody else just about every single time. Kirby Joseph, you name it. Saved some money. Now, whether Detroit wants to set the number before someone else does, that's the other question. So my prediction was this. Gibbs becomes the highest paid running back in the game. Saquon Barkley, current leader at 20.6. Christian McCaffrey, he's next at 19 mil. I do not see Gibbs coming in below Barkley, especially when Gibbs outproduced Barkley last season and over the last 3 seasons combined. Barkley had a massive 2024 season that reset the top of the market, and Gibbs has a stronger 3-year case. He has been more efficient, more productive as a receiver, and more valuable as a touchdown creator. My prediction back in May 9th, was Gibbs' prediction was a 4-year, $85 million deal with $45 million guaranteed, including the 5th-year option. The new money was 3 years at $70.7 million or $23.5 million AAV. The total AAV, when you bring everything in, was 21.25. This 23.5 million number, that's probably where he's going to end up. I think it's going to be really close. Now, my prediction tonight in the video was very close to this. I had it at 3 years and $69 million. 3 years and $69 million. And the reason why I chose that number was just to get, I went through and I looked at Bijan's numbers, right? And the percentages. And so when I boiled it all down, my final prediction tonight was using the 76.4% of the base contract as a guarantee, using the 55.4% as the guarantee at sign, it could be a little north of that, or they may use the same percentages or just be very close. So he also had a 12.36% bump in potential upside to his contract as a max value. So when I looked at all those numbers and I'm looking at, how much Bijan just got, I came up with $69 million. And at a 3-year deal, that's $23 million a year. Makes a lot of sense. His maximum potential would be 77.5. So when you go back to these numbers, my 3-year 70.7 was not that far off. Was not that far off at all for the base value. The base value could be less than what I predicted, but that's 70.7 and $69 million. We're talking 1.7 million off. I mean, I don't even see Spotrac getting that close, but we'll see what happens. So the average annual value, $23 million. Max annual value is 25.8 if he hits all of his escalators. Total guarantee of 52.7. Guarantee at sign 38.25 million. In a signing bonus package of 16.3 million. Now the contract length would be 3 years extension added to his existing contract. Keeps him in town until 2030. I don't think the Lions would keep him until 2030. I think they'll probably trade him by, after the 27 season if the Lions win a Super Bowl by then. So not far off. You could kind of see the market going in this direction. If anyone thought that he was going to get less or that Bijan was going to get less than what was already out there, I think that some more research needed to be done. I don't know who was projecting. I think Spotrac projected Gibbs to be less than Bijan and less than Christian McCaffrey. I just don't see how. It doesn't make any sense. He's a better back. Yeah, I can try to get the lines open tonight, Raw. So my question to you all is right now, if you haven't watched the video, give it a shot because I explained some more things in there. But my question is now, and it was kind of my question in this video, who are we going to lose next year? How are we going to keep everyone? I don't see it working. And obviously you want to have Gibbs for this year, and you probably want to have him for next year. But at some point in time, you're not going to be able to keep everybody. You're not going to be able to re-sign everybody. And I think someone commented that, maybe there's a package deal, with a couple of players next year that they get shipped out, bring in some picks to kind of reload. And I kind of like that idea. Look, I like the players that we have. But at some point in time, if you don't win a Super Bowl with the players that you have right now and the money that they're making, you have to make a decision on who you're keeping. Especially if you want to reload and continue to work forward and work toward a Super Bowl. You can't continue to pay all these top deals and expect it all just to work out. There's no way. And I think the biggest finger to get pointed is going to get at Jared Goff by the fans. And I'll just remind you that Jared Goff is just as responsible for the last 5 seasons in Detroit and all the best seasons in Detroit history. That might be a bad idea to get rid of Jared Goff. He's already paid. And he's already going to be in town, I think, through 2030. So it is what it is. They can continue to restructure him every year. They did it once this year. They can do it again next year. At some point, you're going to have to pay a large amount of money. They could restructure Amon-Ra St. Brown. They could restructure Penei Sewell. I mean, there's options. They could restructure, Aiden Hutchinson if they needed to at some point. They'll have options. They'll be able to create money. They'll be able to print it on demand. But at some point, that paper's going to jam. And you're going to have to do something else. And that's why I think 2027 is the decisive year, especially with what's coming into this draft. It's supposed to be a really good draft. I say that now, but I have a lot more evaluation to do in December. Well, that's when I really get started, and we'll see what it lends to. We'll see what happens. But not having Jahmyr Gibbs this year would be insane. And there's not a team out there that's going to pay what Brad Holmes is going to want right now in any trade. And I don't think that that's even on the docket. I don't think that that's anywhere in the conversation. But anyway, let's get to today. Let me answer your question first, Sunburst. How many years can they keep the core together and make runs? That's the question. Like, that's the $1 million question, man. How do you answer it? I was trying to go through Spotrac the other day to add, the money to Gibbs' contract and then see what would happen in future years, and it wasn't working. It wasn't giving me the future glimpse that I was looking for. And I'm not going to go, create my own sheet because that just takes way too long. And I could just do rough numbers, right? You could just do rough numbers and get an idea. But I would say that there's going to be a log jam in 2028. A log jam. Because by then, you're going to have players' contracts that are going to be at the height of the backload. And either you're going to have to restructure them and extend them just to be able to kick the can down the road again, or you're going to have to trade somebody or not re-sign somebody like Sam Laporta or Brian Branch. I think if Brad is as smart as what I think he is, and that's not a slight, I'm being serious, I think that he would probably lean towards extending Sam Laporta, extending Brian Branch, and then finding a trade partner. Even though most teams would rather work out their own contract, I think that just about any team out there, if both of those players get back and they're healthy, like Laporta's already healthy, if he stays healthy throughout the season, I think just about any team out there would want him. If Brian Branch gets back and he plays the rest of the season healthy and has a decent season, I think just about any team but Green Bay would want him. Maybe Green Bay would want him. I mean, they already missed out on us jumping them to get him. And I'm not saying that that's the right move. I'm not saying that the Lions should lose, the players that they drafted that helped this team win a lot of football games. I'm not saying that. I just think it's inevitable. It's inevitable. That's why we have a lot of one-year deals. You have to. All right, day 6 right now.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Okay, let's just do it. Man, day 6 was a great day. It was a great day. Lions' second consecutive padded practice. And we got the same effort out of the defense today. The second practice ended once again with that advantage shifting towards the defense. And it was pretty decisive. It was a 2-hour session today. It included individual work, receiver and defensive back matchups, kickoff and punt periods, and then 4 11-on-11 sessions and late game situations. I wish that I would have been able to see some 11-on-11 sessions when I was there on Sunday. Either I missed it or I didn't see it. Detroit's front controlled the early run periods and maintained pressure throughout practice. Aleem McNeil showed up. He delivered his strongest day of camp so far. Tyler Lacey, I mean, he's as even keel as they come right now. He is forcing his way onto a first team. The offense answered with a 7-play touchdown drive from Jared Goff and an explosive Teddy Bridgewater to Dominic Lovett touchdown in today's periods. Now, Goff also gave the first team offense a chance to complete the final situation that they were in today, but the drive stalled out, ended on a 4th down drop along the right sideline. Christian Mahogany, he's stacking. I need those. I forgot to add those in today. But he gained more ground at left guard today. Jake Bates, finished perfect on the day, closed practice with a pressure kick as time expired. As I mentioned in my article, he started off Sunday with a 68-yard field goal during warm-ups and then had a pretty good day, and then he kind of nosedived a little bit. Greg Dortch, he's continuing to exceed expectations. Dan Campbell praised Dortch's movement skills, route work, and his value as a return specialist. Dortch also spent the previous 3 years under Drew Petzing's offense, which is no surprise to many of you, and that experience has allowed him to play a lot faster than the other newcomers to this team. Detroit is using him in the slot, outside, and in both return roles. And so far, from what I saw and what has been reported, I mean, he's head and shoulders above everybody else right now. He has the early lead to handle both the offensive and special team roles that were previously filled by Khalif Raymond, which is what I saw and predicted when we brought in Dortch. Campbell also explained that Devin White definitely fits the will linebacker position. No surprise there, but White has the frame, the speed, and the downhill style that Calvin Shepard wants on that weak side. The Lions do plan to increase his workload while also moving him toward their preferred playing weight and conditioning level. I'm not saying that White is out of shape, but the Lions prefer him to be in better shape. Campbell did confirm, though, today that Sione Vaki suffered the broken nose in addition to the eye injury caused by a hand entering his face mask. And they do expect Vaki to miss some time, but the team also remains optimistic about his vision and his recovery, giving him a little bit of time off before they make any decisions. Campbell also praised Jacob Sailors today and Jabari Small. Sailors understands the system and looks more comfortable in his second season. Small does have a low center of gravity, and he has provided a lot of strength, lateral quickness, and special teams value so far throughout camp. The absences of Jahmyr Gibbs and now Vaki obviously created opportunity for both those guys today. Both backs responded well. And in Campbell's corner today, which is a light day, Campbell was encouraged by the defense's depth and the early work in the pads, but he also declined to give either side any sort of an edge after just one padded practice. He also pointed out to Cade Mays' response after losing an early rep to Tyleik Williams on Monday. The initial loss was expected during the first day in pads. I explained that this morning. It is not an indictment on Cade Mays to lose one rep in a glorified one-on-one drill that was recorded. The immediate correction was exactly what Campbell wanted to see. Campbell also made it clear that White's weight, going back to White's weight, and his practice load will be managed while the Lions determine how quickly that role can grow for him. Top headlines of the day. There was a few and some new ones. Lee McNeil, he produced 3 reported run disruptions and pressure golf during the final situational period. His burst and lateral quickness provided the clearest sign yet that he is returning to his pre-injury form, which obviously is great news for all of us to hear because last year you could tell that he was still banged up. Tyler Lacey again created multiple negative plays on the day against the run, opened a lane for Jack Campbell, and generated pressure from that big end alignment. I'm really surprised with Tyler Lacey. Hold on. I got to get rid of these yawns, otherwise they're gonna follow me. Got to get rid of them. It's 8 o'clock every freaking time, man. 8 o'clock. All right, now the Lions' ability to move Tyler Lacey inside. It's really made a big difference for his role and his value so far through each padded practice. He's obviously one of the standouts right now, and that's why he's in the top headlines yet again, like the 6th day in a row. Christian Mahogany received the larger share of the first team reps today at left guard work, and including that final competitive period. Juice Scruggs was very active and involved again today, but the competition is really leaning towards Mahogany. Greg Dortch again continued building his case as wide receiver 4 and Detroit's primary return option. expected, but it's also early. But we're also only 9 days away from preseason, which is nuts. And again, Dortch's familiarity with Drew Petzing's system, it's really allowed him to create separation while handling the multiple jobs. Jake Bates, again, converted all 8 reported attempts, including 2 from 51 yards and 1 from 59 today. Really put that leg to use. He then finished the second team situational drive with a 41-yard kick as time expired. Those are the types of plays that we need to see from Jake Bates. You know, just the other day during the morning show, I mentioned that Jake Bates has to be money this year from the 40s. And exactly what happened today, in a situational drill, he was money in the 40s. He has to live in the 40s this year. I don't think that the Lions are going to need him much, you know, for 26 to 35-yard chip shots. I think Dan Campbell's going for it. And he'd rather bury the defense deep than to just take 3 points. Situationally, of course, does matter. But from that 40-yard out range, that is where Bates is going to have to be consistently better this season. In the injury updates, I'm going to be placed on IR with some sort of a yawning sickness. My God. Detroit avoided another major wave of new injuries during practice today. Finally, some good news. Let that injury bug settle down. Malcolm Rodriguez was really the only player reported to leave day 6 with a new issue, but it was minor as reported from others. He had some tape on his ankle, returned to practice, and I don't know if he played after that or practiced after that, but he was walking comfortably, as reported again. Detroit didn't announce any sort of a timetable or exact injury on Malcolm Rodriguez. We'll probably learn tomorrow morning. Recap, obviously, Vaki's going to miss time. Anthony Firksker is fractured his leg. He's on IR. The Lions re-signed Zach Horton and also brought in Nick Muse at the tight end position. Lawrence Keys missed practice with a hamstring injury. And the Lions later waived Keys with an injury designation and signed running back Raheem Blackshear. Detroit has not announced any grade of Keys' strain, but that's interesting. It sucks to see Keys, be lost this early. A 4 to 6 weeks absence would be more consistent, but now that he's been designated with an injury designation, I'm not sure what the timetable is that they put on his injury. Derek Moore obviously remains out with a groin strain. Jimmy Rolder is going to be out for potentially several weeks with a hamstring injury. Miles Kitselman expected to miss significant time as well, the tight end. Peyton Turner, he's now missed 5 practices in a row with a back injury. Kirby Joseph, still on PUP, but working out, recovering from that torn Achilles, putting in more and more work every time he gets an opportunity to be on the field with the trainers. Tyler Conklin remains on PUP with a calf injury. And Kirby, I'm sorry, not Kirby again. Brian Branch remains on PUP while we're still recovering. He also was on the field taking in part of some activities yesterday. Giovanni Manu, no change there. All right, he's pretty much donezo. Ben Barch continues working through an undisclosed issue. Blake Miller still remained active today after returning to full participation on Monday. Had his hands full again today. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, not really listed with an injury. He's holding in. Next up, we'll get into the defensive line. I already touched on some of this, so when I work through this, I do like Dan Campbell's presser, which can overlap some of the top headlines, which could then overlap some of the injury updates. Someday I'll be able to just get it so we don't have to overlap. I'm getting close. It's just a lot of work. Ali McNeil delivered probably the most complete defensive performance of day 6, which we needed to hear, right? We needed to see it. We needed to hear it. He beat Cade Mays inside for an early tackle behind the line. He added another backfield disruption later and then collapsed the pocket and forced Goff to abandon a pass in that final situational series. All great things, right? Ali McNeil has a nasty first step and quickness and lateral movement, and he's starting to look closer to his pre-injury form, which has to happen this year. Now, he was reaching the play before the Lions' blocking combos could even develop. I mean, from what I heard, he was just kind of slicing right through. Tyleik Williams, he remained part of the starting front today that controlled the early rushing periods. The most notable development for Tyleik Williams was the improved power in his game. His offseason body transformation is still being talked about. The added movement without removing any of the strength, obviously, that this defensive front needs from its now new nose tackle. Tyleik Williams did not receive the same number of individual splash plays as McNeil, but his power was part of the reason that defensive front was starting to compress those early running lanes. Mekhi Wingo received some first-team work today. He also forced Goff to throw the ball away with interior pressure. Levi Onwuzurike exploded through the line to stop a third-team run in the backfield. Levi, for some reason, has been relegated to a lot of third team. And I'm not sure if they're just kind of bringing him up slowly. I mean, he came off a nasty injury. Maybe they're just trying to give him, some wins and his confidence back, which tends to happen with some teams, some coaches. They might give you an easier assignment in the very beginning to see how you handle it. And if you're swimming through it, they're going to continue to move you up. So there could be an early delayed plan with Levi Onwuzurike. I don't know why he would be relegated to a lot of the third team and only the third team. I think he had a little bit of second team yesterday, but that's going to be a developing story with Levi Onwuzurike over the next couple of weeks to see where and how he gets implemented into some of the early work into the first and second team. Either way, I think that Levi is more rotational depth. He could have an opportunity to win some sort of a role in a starting package, depending on down distance and situational awareness. It was a lighter day for the younger guys, Aiden Kenyatta, Skylar Gill-Howard, and Tyree West. All of them didn't really do much today. Off on the edge, this is where Tyler Lacey followed his Day 5 breakout with another disruptive performance. He swam past Ratledge for a tackle for a loss behind the line of scrimmage, and then he later drove a blocker out of the play and opened up the lane for Jack Campbell to fit and finish. He also generated some pressure again against Bridgewater and then made another stop during a later team period. Lacey continues working as the big end and base personnel before sliding inside in some of the passing packages. He's just come out of nowhere this year. But his size, his strength, his alignment flexibility, it's really turned into the biggest story of camp so far. The Lions have found an unlikely candidate to stack next to Aleem and Tyleik, in a lot of their pressure packages, and he's winning. He's winning. Aiden Hutchinson. That's only 2 days in pads. Let me remind myself. Getting excited about Lacey. Aiden Hutchinson continued affecting the pocket today from obviously his starting edge position. And Tuesday really did not produce one signature sack or tackle for loss or anything, but his pressure still contributed to the front's control of practice. Hutchinson's presence at least forced the offense to account for him on the field, while McNeil, Williams, and Wingo all attacked inside. And that is exactly how it's done, folks. You don't always have to have a stat. You don't always need to see a sack. But his disruption alone was enough to allow the other three to work, and vice versa. When offenses realize they can't handle the other three, Aiden's going to slip through. And when they somehow try to figure out a way to stop all four, well, that's when you're going to see the linebackers get dialed up. And I think that Kelvin Shepard preparing what he's preparing this year, the little sprinkles that we're hearing and seeing, this defense is so versatile. I mean, they can do anything that you want them to do. Ahmed Hassanin, go figure, right? His presence today his presence today generated a pressure that ended as a practice sack and later stopped a running back behind the line of scrimmage for a loss. The production showed that his motor is beginning to translate into finish plays. He's really starting to get it. Obviously, with Derek Moore out, Peyton Turner still unavailable. Hassanin is just, he's scooping it up, man. He's getting all sorts of reps throughout the padded portion of practice, and he's moving from a developmental player now into the rotation. And then Trevor Nowaski today. He delivered one of the hardest hits of practice when he stopped Sailors behind the line of scrimmage for a loss, and he lost his own helmet throughout the process. But putting Nowaski up on the defensive line as an edge today is a new development. I don't remember the Lions doing that with Nowaski last year. Now, they had him into Sam, and yes, he was up on the line of scrimmage at times, but they had him out wide. They had Nowaski out wide today. They're trying to make these guys do everything, and not in a bad way. It's not like they're dropping them all in coverage. They're figuring out other ways to use them in pressure packages. He also beat Devin Cochran later around the edge for a practice sack. So Nowaski coming out of nowhere. Another amazing pickup, by Brad Holmes a couple of years ago. Lost him, got him back, and he's been with us ever since. And he's been great as a rotational guy, and now he's getting more opportunities as he's grown in the system. It was a lighter day. It was a lighter day for DJ Wanham and Anthony Lucas. Not much that I heard. I don't know if anyone else has reported on anything, but I haven't really heard anything from those two at all today. Jack Campbell. We'll get to the linebackers now. He helped set the tone during the open rush period of practice today. He stopped one run at the line and finished another after Lacey destroyed the blocking lane in front of him. Piggyback those two in both their sections, right? Devin White continued receiving work at will linebacker. No, not a shocker there, especially with Malcolm Rodriguez banged up today. White's going to get more reps. The Lions are obviously bringing him along gradually, but his downhill speed has already drawn Dan Campbell's attention. Damone Clark popped today and produced a strong day with the second-team defense. He also tracked down Sailors on a run, filled another gap quickly enough to draw an obvious hold and stop Dortch a yard short of the line to gain during a situational period today. So all great things from these guys. Now, it's early, it's day 2, and it's just our team. But these are all great developments. Clark also worked with the first-team punt coverage unit today. Now, his combination of downhill defense, special teams work, it gives Clark a real argument in a crowded linebacker room. I can't say it enough that the way that Brad laid all this out, and what Dan too, and bringing these types of players in, look what it's doing from day to day. When you go down a player, and now you have depth and quality depth that can step in and make big plays. That's what it's all about. When your depth is near as good as your starters, that is when you're going to win a lot of football games. And like I said earlier, man, those hockey line shifts that I'm expecting this year, 3-4 guys in, 3-4 guys out. And that could be every 4 plays. Could be every 3 plays. It could be down and distance situational plays. And yes, the answer to all of that will be yes. At least from what I'm seeing and hearing right now, they're going to make sure that these guys are rested and can perform late into the fourth quarter. Derek Barnes was also isolated today against Isaac TeSlaa in a vertical route. Lost separation. I don't expect Derek Barnes to be able to keep with Isaac TeSlaa. That's just not what I expect of him. I'm not sure why they even had him lined up on Isaac TeSlaa. Obviously, it's good practice. But is he really going to see an X style of receiver at the Sam linebacker role? I don't know. I don't think so. You're going to see some really good tight ends. And maybe that's mimicking like a Trey McBride style, a Tucker Kraft style. Absolutely. But I just don't see it happening a whole lot. And if it does, they're putting him in the wrong situation. But anyway, the pass rush today, it reached Goff before the quarterback. Reached Goff before Jared Goff, before he could make an attempted throw today. Rodriguez's status, again, it'll be determined probably tomorrow. We'll hear something as to what the long-term plan is. We're going to get into the secondary next, and we're going to start with Nick Whiteside right after this brief break One of our sponsors.
The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to SportsSpider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your number one source for all your sports. Visit SportsSpider.com today, right after the show.
One more round. I got to fix my lighting, I guess.
Middle caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
All right, check it in. Going to be checking in with the secondary. 1 minute.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Oh, this stupid thing. There we go. I think I just fixed that. I'm going to turn the deactivation off. All right, secondary, Nick Whiteside. Are you surprised that I'm mentioning Nick Whiteside again today? He took another huge step forward. He denied Tom Kennedy on a vertical route, then received work against Detroit's top receivers. And look, he didn't disappoint. Amon-Ra St. Brown won late on a fade route. Whiteside responded with a very physical breakup against Tesla on a comeback route. He also received first team work today during the final situational period and was in coverage on a 4th down throw to Jamison Williams. Williams got both hands on the ball and should have finished the catch. But Whiteside stayed close in that pocket just enough to contest that play. What a big play. I mean, Whiteside has just come out of nowhere. Remind me, didn't we lose Whiteside at one point? Didn't we bring him in? Wasn't it in 24 did we bring him in? And then we lost him, and then we got him back. I need to look that up because Whiteside was like, I mean, he was a stud in his first camp and in the preseason, the first time that we had him. And then, of course, we let him go. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Explains why he's so good. He has prototypical size. I'm just kidding, but that's part of it. I'm going to be 6'1", 202, Nick, real soon. I'm getting there. Yeah, so it was 2023. He was undrafted. He went to the Commanders in 23. Went to the UFL in 25. He's been with the Lions 25 since. I thought we lost him. I thought we had him earlier in 24, but I guess it was just last year. He was a first-team D2 athlete, All-American. He was a second-team D2 All-American. He was a GLIAC Defensive Back of the Year in 21. And he was a 2 times first-team All-GLIAC in 21-22. Small school guy, and he's making real-world problems for everybody else out there. All right, how about Rocky Sin today? He broke up a pass intended for Tesla and St. Brown. He also closed quickly on an outside run and stopped Sailors near the line today. DJ Reed, he recovered on an underthrown stop-and-go route and broke up the pass against Jamison Williams. One of the routes that Jamel's been working on this year is the comeback. Reed also denied St. Brown on a slant route today. Ennis Rakestraw, as good as he's been, it's the inconsistencies that are starting to get the better of him. He lost 2 releases to Jamison Williams today, but he recovered on a slant and punched the ball loose after the catch. Great heads-up play by Ennis Rakestraw today. Keith Abney added another pass breakup and remained physical on special teams. I'm going to pause there because, sometimes I just have to trust my gut. I know I've told this story multiple times, and I should just go get the tape and just get it ready. But when I saw Abney's tape, I loved it. And then when I was getting down to camp and heard that Abney was on the board for the Lions and to keep your eyes out there for Abney, it was like a day later that or 2 days later, whenever it was after camp, I started to lose confidence in Abney because there was other players that were jumping my board. Next time I have to trust my gut because Abney was the call early, and clearly Abney was one of the guys that they liked all throughout the draft. Now, I know what some people say, they watch Inside the Den and they think that, Brad and Dan were all in on just Miller, we're all in on this player. That's great editing, y'all. It's really great editing. I'm just going to leave it at that. They're not going to talk about any other players. They never have, they never will. They will never tell you who they're really going for. But the editing will make it look that way, I promise you. Brad said that himself. He'll never tell you. He'll never tell you. All right, Thomas Harper. He denied Lucky Jackson today and Sam Laporta on vertical routes. Chuck Clark added a breakup, but could not undercut Laporta's touchdown route. Amaris Brown recorded another pass defense today while continuing to receive some safety work. All of these DBs have been phenomenal, especially Khalil Dorsey. Now, he limited Tesla's separation on a fade route today, and then Tesla won above him at the catch point. Kind of expected. Christian Izzian lost to Dortch's post corner route today, and then even though Dortch could not complete the catch in bounds, he still lost the rep. Roger McCreary lost to Cedric Wilson on a corner route and to Lovett on a long touchdown. Roger McCreary is not doing Roger McCreary things right now. He's just not. Deshaun Rucker stayed in phase, and he also broke up Bridgewater's late shot for Cedric Wilson. We'll touch on the quarterbacks next. Right now, in the chat, in the comments later, give me your 6 DBs or your 6 corners. Who are they? Who are your 6 DBs? Let me say it again. Who are your 6 corners making this roster? Obviously, you have 1-2 Rock Yassin, DJ Reed. 3-4, it's Abney and Ennis Rakestraw kicking in the door. Right? I think it's those 4 that are at the top right now for cornerback positions. Khalil Dorsey, I think he's next. And I think he's definitely next because of his special teams value. He's 5'8", 188. And man, he plays a hell of a lot bigger than that. He packs a wicked punch. Amaris Brown is creeping, but I don't think he's going to have enough runway to make it. I don't think he's going to. And then there's Nick Whiteside. And maybe you could put Nick Whiteside at number 3 or number 4. Man, see now I'm This is so tough. I'm going to go Reed, Yasin. Whiteside, Rakestraw, Abney, Dorsey. Lions keep 6. Maybe the Lions go a lot deeper in the DB room this year than they have in seasons past. And quite simply because if you're going to run nickel, you have to have guys. Because if you lose guys, you need guys. And maybe some of the vets that are on this team, you might end up cutting a vet if you can have the handshake deal. And that they're going to stick on the practice squad. And so some of the guys that are not making a ton of money, that are on a very low 1-year deal, I would say that those are the guys that are probably more likely to go to the practice squad, right? P squad, vet squad. They don't have to go to another team. And I think a player like McCreary right now, who's maybe not playing the best, maybe he would be one that would, stay on the P squad for the Lions. That's if another player doesn't totally jump him on the P squad too, because right now he's not playing well. But it's early. It's early, and he's on a great team. All right, Jared Goff, kind of a quiet day, even though they had 4 11-on-11 periods today. But Jared Goff led probably the best sustained offensive possession of the day, as expected. He fit a 28-yard throw to Williams between multiple defenders, tight window, and then found Laporta for a 3rd-and-goal touchdown. The final situational series began with a 13-yard sideline completion to St. Brown today. And then McNeil forced that throwaway on the very next snap. So that obviously didn't feel great. And then Goff short-hopped one. And then a collision between St. Brown and Clark produced an incompletion. Who knows if there would have been a flag on the defense for interference. And then on 4th and 10, Goff gave Williams a chance along the right side, and Williams just couldn't finish the catch. And the defense closed out the day, closed out the period. Teddy Bridgewater probably delivered the biggest play of the day today. He rolled right, and he found Dominic Lovett on that deep down sideline toss. And Lovett made a hell of a grab. Lovett finished the play for an approximate 80-yard touchdown. 8-0. Bridgewater later moved the second offense into the field goal range during that final situational period. Jackson Meeks became his primary target, and the second unit gave Bates a chance to finish the period, and he did. Luke Altmaier had a quieter day in the available coverage. Not much talked about with Altmaier today, but it was a much quieter day for him. He still has a long way to go. Now, running backs. I saw that there was some commentary earlier about some of the running backs. If I read what you said was right, someone said that maybe Jabari Small was ahead of Sailors. I don't think that that's the case. I think it's the exact opposite. Jacob Sailors has remained the second option behind Isaiah Pacheco and continued receiving first-team work today. And obviously, when you have players that are missing, players are going to get bumped up. Now, Raw B is going to love what I'm about to say next. It's coming. But Jacob Sailors produced 2 runs of at least 10 yards and maintained his balance through incomplete tackle attempts today. Sailors has become one of the primary beneficiaries of the depleted backfield with multiple guys out, obviously with the hold-in of Jahmyr Gibbs. He got a lot of action today. Let's just put it that way. And then he felt one because Nowoski dropped him behind the line in one of the hardest hits of practice. Yasin also stopped another run near the perimeter. Isaiah Pacheco, he continued handling the lead workload and has looked more explosive since the pads came on. He produced yardage after the catch, presented a reliable check down for Goff, and found the open space on wheel routes today. The Lions defense has lost a running back on a wheel concept in consecutive practices now, which tells me, and if you go to my article, I actually want to read you exactly what I wrote in my article, because I think it matters. Let me find it. I want to make sure I get the verbiage right. I don't want to paraphrase it. All right, here we go. I'm going to start at the top of Pacheco. So Pacheco continued leading Detroit's available running backs and has looked more explosive since the team moved into padded work. He produced yardage after the catch, remained available as Goss checked down, and escaped the defense on a wheel route. Pacheco's work in the passing game offers an early indication of how frequently Petzing intends to involve Detroit's backs beyond traditional carries. The defense has now allowed a running back to find a hole without coverage on a wheel concept, in consecutive practices, a problem that this defense has faced at times in the past. Kelvin Shepard has to get this corrected, but this is exactly what Drew Petzing brings to the table through motions and isolation tactics, creating confusion for the defense. There's a couple of mistakes in there, too. I better fix that real quick. So Isaiah Pacheco, from multiple notes today and multiple reporters, explaining how much Pacheco's explosion was on display today. I'm excited about that. That 1-2 punch is going to be, I think, extremely dynamic this year between, look, it's not Montgomery and it's not Gibbs together anymore. But I think that Pacheco and Gibbs are going to be just as good. Different back, but just as good. All right, I had to fix that real quick. So anyway, Kelvin Shepard, he's got to get it cleaned up, right? Lions defense has faced that multiple times, many times in the past. And again, when you are isolating your own defense and creating chaos and confusion, these are things that they're going to see from other teams. Jabari Small, he received work with the first-team offense today. He broke a long run behind Devin Cochran and Melvin Priestley and handled a kickoff return during the final situation. Look, he has a very low center of gravity. He has extreme quickness and brings special teams value that are keeping him in the roster conversation. But I would say right now, Jabari Small is on the outside looking in. Small also paired with Tom Kennedy in the return game during the final situation period as well. Kai Robichaud had a quieter day in the available reports that were available obviously everywhere, but Robichaud hasn't done much since he's been in camp, and I'm a little bit miffed as to why. But when Robichaud was with us a couple of years ago, now that one I think was 2024, and then he blow out his hip really bad or something. Like he was doing exceptionally well in preseason, or in camp and then preseason, and I was thinking that he was going to make the roster, and then he blew out his hip, and he was out for the whole season. Or at least the rest of the season. And I think he landed, maybe it wasn't the rest of the season. He might have landed with another team very late in that season. So I'm quite surprised that he's not doing a whole lot right now. Let's talk about the offensive line. Christian Mahogany, again, pulling away. He opened up individual work with the starters. He took first-team snaps during the 2 and the 14 periods. And remained at left guard for the final situational series today. He's starting to look really good. Like, I don't even think it's close right now between him and everybody else. Juice Scruggs, he continued rotating, but the distribution moved toward Mahogany. It's very clear right now that Mahogany is just head and shoulders above. Scruggs' power, his movement, Mahogany's power and movement, they both fit Petzing's run game. But right now, Mahogany is pulling, he's locating defenders in space, and he's finishing with force. Now, Detroit, obviously, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, they haven't officially named a starter. It's still competition, but it is moving in Mahogany's direction. Now, Cade Mays lost an early matchup today when McNeil crossed his face and then made the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Cade Mays responded later in practice. Tate Ratledge lost an early rep to Lacey's swim move. He responded later in practice. Devin Cochran helped open up Small's long run of the day, and then he surrendered that giant Nowoski sack. Melvin Priestley provided another key block on Small's run. Then he got embarrassed later. Blake Miller remained with the starting line after returning to full body work on Monday. I didn't get any real reports on Miller today. Juice Scruggs, stayed in the left guard rotation, but his share of first team reps has obviously trailed Mahogany so far. And it was really a lighter day for coverage. It was made available for Miles Frazier and Larry Borum. Obviously, Penei Sewell does Penei Sewell things. I don't even know why we discuss Penei Sewell anymore. Greg Dortch continued to strengthen his stranglehold on the wide receiver 4 position, and he also created a lot of problems for Avonte Maddox. He won a deep rematch and then used a sharp post corner route to separate from Christian Izien. Dortch could not secure both feet inbounds on that play, but it was the fact that he was able to make that route happen, which was the beautiful part of today for him. During teamwork, Bridgewater found him near the sideline marker on 3rd and 6. Dortch appeared to extend beyond the line, but the offense was ruled short. Dortch's route quickness right now, his return value, the ability to play inside or outside, it's giving him the strongest case yet again behind Detroit's top 3 receivers. Jamison Williams created separation throughout practice today. He beat Rakestraw on a slant, escaped another jam on a vertical route. That was great to hear. And then accelerated past Reed on a stop and go. Williams later made a difficult catch in traffic and then secured Goff's 28-yard throw during a touchdown drive. His day ended with a 4th down drop. You never want to end with a drop, but he had another drop. To be honest, the route and the throw were there. It was just a drop. The finish was not. But Williams' separation, obviously an expanded route tree, still remain a positive development on the season. He's still having a phenomenal camp. But the final play kept the day from becoming a complete performance, the thing that Jamison Williams said exactly he's trying to work on. Dominic Lovett produced the longest play of practice. He separated from McCreary, tracked Bridgewater's deep throw, cut inside the defender before reaching the end zone. Lacey was closing on Bridgewater at the time and may have ended the play under live quarterback contact rules, but obviously in practice, they're getting held up a little bit. Amon-Ra St. Brown beat Whiteside on a fade and caught the 13-yard pass that opened up the final drive. Isaac Tesla high-pointed a fade today over Khalil Dorsey and created deep separation from Barnes. And then there was Cedric Wilson that beat McCreary on a corner route, and then later saw a deep attempt broken up by Rucker. Lucky Jackson produced Yasin's only reported loss today in one-on-ones, but Harper denied him in another vertical route. Tom Kennedy lost the go ball rep to Whiteside. Go figure. God, Whiteside is everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. Sam Laporta produced his best day of camp today. He beat Chuck Clark on an out route. He found a soft spot in the zone coverage for a gain of about 30 yards and then finished Goff's drive with a 5-yard TD. Goff also missed Laporta on another crossing route after he created the much-needed space to be wide open. It was just a missed pass by Goff. Jackson Meeks took over the second-team situational period. He caught 3 consecutive passes, including gains of 13 and 16 to move Detroit into field goal range. That sequence was his strongest contribution of camp so far, and it arrived at the right time. Obviously, with the tight end situation happening right now, you need to see Jackson Meeks take a step forward. Thomas Gordon reached back to secure an off-target pass and kept the second offense moving today. Brock Wright also had a quiet day. Not much reported for him. Zach Horton back with the team. Rejoined the team after Ferksker moved to injured reserve. Nothing reported there in his day. And then in special teams. Remember on Sunday, Jake Bates was reportedly by me, made that 68-yard field goal, right? He connected during the open part of practice where there wasn't anybody else in his face. And then he went on this uneven streak throughout the rest of the week, really since Sunday. And then he responded today by hitting a perfect day. His strongest kicking session of camp couldn't have come at a better time. Bates converted on all 8 reported attempts today, 39, 41, 44, 46, 46, 51, 51, and 59 yards. You heard how many 40s were in there, right? You would think that maybe Dan Campbell heard me the other day when I said Jake Bates has to have his best year from the 40s. They're practicing the 40s for a reason. It's because they're not expected to hit any other field goals when they get under the 40s. Like I said earlier, Dan's going for it. But anyway, most of these kicks traveled right through the uprights, right through the middle with some extended distance beyond. He had plenty of leg today. The 59-yarder attempt cleared the crossbar and had some substantial distance remaining. Anyway, Bates closed out practice today, making that 41-yard field goal as time expired. Look, my overall read today, it's not a lot, but the Lions defense won day 6 today by controlling the line of scrimmage. Again, McNeil finally popped and had his strongest play of the field, or play of the day, play of camp, really. Lacey continued to build his larger role, carving out what should be a first-team opportunity. Wingo, Hosny, Nowaski all added pressure, from their developing front. Now, I do have some other things on Hosny. Hold on. This is my shortened version. Let me get down to Hosny. If you're not signed up on DetroitFootballJournal.com, you can get the full report. They're very long reports every day, but I'm trying to get you clued in on what's happening every single day. It's about a 20-minute read every day. All right, where's Hosny at? All right, here we go. I'm at Hosny. Out of all the other players that I mentioned, so I mentioned Hosny, Wingo, and Nowaski, adding pressure today. Hosny stood out again, and he generated pressure that was treated as a practice sack today, and then later stopped a running back behind the line of scrimmage. And those plays extended a very strong opening week in which his effort, his hand usage, his energy, the physicality, everything is continuing to improve every single day. The more players that remain out in the edge room, the more opportunity Hosny is getting, and he's developing. You want to see growth from these players like every week, right? You're seeing growth by Hosny daily. So for all the people they were talking all this crap about Brad Holmes and Ahmed Hosny last year, what do you think they're saying this year? How many of those creators are creating content of how good Hosny is? I don't know. I haven't looked. I'm curious. If you know, let me know. I am curious. Because I'll definitely do a video calling them all out. His pressure at work anyway has become more technically productive instead of just relying on effort alone. He's actually using his instincts, and he's using the scheme to his advantage. And I think he really loves this new role, being out there in the big end. But his bull rush, his ability to finish through contact are giving the Lions defense a legitimate developmental option, still developmental, but a legit option, while Derek Moore and Peyton Turner are still unavailable. And again, the longer they're out, the more Hosny is going to grow. One additional Day 6 observer characterized Tuesday as Hosny's best day of camp. That's big news. That is big news. Overall take today. Again, injury list didn't grow. I mean, yeah, there's Malcolm Rodriguez, but it wasn't overly concerning today. And matter of fact, most of the injuries are not overly concerning. You know, some of the injuries where we've lost players for a considerable amount of time, some of those players may have been relegated to, you know, third string special teams, you know, and that's about it. Some of the other players like Derek Moore, obviously you want him in the edge rotation. And the likelihood of him growing into a very solid defensive end quickly is there. It's just going to take some time. You know, he may not be a sack master right away, but I think that Derek Moore's usage in the run game early and often is why you have him in. And we'll see how that develops when he gets back. But right now, I have full confidence in Ahmed Hassanin to really take his game to the next level and help this team out. Wanham kind of had a light day today, Raw. I mean, he's been doing his job in practice. He's not, I mean, he's doing his job. He's making some plays, but it's not like, it's not overwhelming, you know, right now. I think that Wanham is going to do exactly what he's supposed to do. I pay attention to some of the other guys and write more about some of the other guys, some of the lesser-known guys, some of the guys that are going to prove themselves, some of the guys that I expect to make a difference on the bottom end of this roster, because I think those are some of the more fun stories to talk about. Like, you could talk about Hutch every day. You know, you could talk about Ali McNeil every day. But I think that the players that are really showing themselves right now in this defense, Nick Whiteside, Hassanin, Williams, Lacey. You could talk about Jack Campbell every day till you're blue in the face. You know what he's going to do. Barnes, I think he's great at, you know, the position that he's been in. So far, you know, dropping into coverage is not working out yet. I need to see more out of Damone Clark. All right, I need to hear more about Damone Clark. Obviously, over the next several days, we need to hear a lot more out of White. But White has already come in and shown why the Lions brought him in. He's fit in just a perfect glove into this defense. But the players that are really making things happen right now are the guys like Lacey that you plucked out of, you know, last year's cuts and threw him on your roster, and then you kept him around. And now he's competing for, a number one role on this team, you know, first string role. And that's huge. Tyleik Williams he's totally transformed this season. And I think what he's going to provide on this team is just going to be incredible. The Lions front four is going to be nasty. But the two or three behind them are going to be just as dependable and playmakers. And that's what is exciting about this season. I just don't know why so many people think that this team doesn't have enough, that Brad didn't do enough. I'm telling you right now, this Devin White pickup, it might have been the last brick to really put us over the edge, assuming everybody stays healthy. That's the key to this whole thing. We need the core to stay healthy. And then anything else after that is gravy. If your backup guys that are making it rain now in practice are staying healthy, then I think that you have a much better chance of going deep this season. So let's take a quick break, and then when I get back, I'll try to get the phone lines open here in just a moment. Man, I can't wait to hear that number called this year. I can't wait to hear that Jahmyr Gibbs has got his deal locked up and that we're ready to rock and roll. If anyone has a moment. Oh, look at that. It looks like we are live on Detroit Football Journal, and we are live on the other X. And I'm just trying to check everything to make sure it's all working here. I don't even know where to see the live on Detroit Football Journal, but I got to figure that out because I got to know how it works. I don't even know how it works. Well, that's clearly not my Facebook. What's going on here? Whatever this is, sign out. All right, Robbie, let me see if phone lines are open here. Make sure you call the right phone number this time. Delete the other one. You only want 313 podcast in there. 313 podcast. 313-768-2278. Phone line should be open. And while you're calling, I've got to check Detroit Football Journal out to see where the heck I'm live at. I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. That's interesting. Robbie, you got it right. Robbie, what's happening, man?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, my friend.
What's on your mind today, man?
Well, where to start? Good show tonight. Covered a lot of X's and O's.
Oh, yeah. Every day, man.
Even the guys that people don't want to talk about, which I like to hear, because those are the unsung heroes of the team. Those are the players that deserve the recognition. I think I want to touch a bit on the whole Jahmyr Gibbs thing.
Ooh, all right.
I proposed the question earlier, and you were busy, and it was on your morning show, and you didn't really see it, but what would you rather do? And this is beating a dead horse because the ship's already sailed, but would you rather pay Jahmyr Gibbs $24 million, $23 million a season, or David Montgomery $8 million a season? You pay Gibbs, you're probably losing Branch and Laporta. You paid Montgomery, you're keeping Branch and Laporta. Did David Montgomery really do anything to lose his job? Or was he just being outperformed by Jahmyr Gibbs here and there?
So you kind of put a lot into there. So let's break it into segments. Let's kind of start back to front because the last question is, did David Montgomery do anything to lose his job? And I don't think that's what happened. I don't think that David Montgomery lost his job. I think what happened was Johnny Morton screwed up the entire offensive system. And this was last year that you kind of heard it towards the tail end of the season. You heard it from Brad and you heard it from Dan where they said that they were kind of going in a different direction with the offense. And it was the newer offensive scheme that this was going to be what they were going to. They hired, or they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs to be the future. They brought in David Montgomery to be the teacher. And we just have to be honest. There is on no planet is David Montgomery ever going to be as good as Jahmyr Gibbs? It just, there's no way. He's a great running back. He doesn't have the speed. Yes, he can produce, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be out there producing like Jahmyr Gibbs. He doesn't have that breakaway speed. He doesn't have that shiftiness that Gibbs has. I mean, you blink and Gibbs is gone. David Montgomery's getting caught from behind. Gibbs, you can let him run to the corner, and he's not getting caught. He can beat you to the corner. Montgomery, not so much. So I think it's two totally different styles of a back. I think it's two totally different styles of a running back. So I don't think that that's the answer. I just think the offense was going in a different direction. And David Montgomery knew that. And he's like, well, look, I'd rather get more touches somewhere else. I'm not going to get 150 touches,
So I 100% agree. They're completely different styles of back. Okay. Yes, you've seen David Montgomery get caught from behind, but you've also seen David Montgomery break 2, 3, 4 tackles to get that breakaway to where they have to catch him from behind. Jahmyr Gibbs is more agile and explosive to where he's running by a guy before they have a chance to tackle him. I've also proposed this question. What breaks the heart of a defense more? A guy running by you that you can't touch, or a guy running through you can't bring down?
I mean, look, it's all great. It's all great. I know what you're trying to say, and it's all great in theory. The old school of running the football was run it through your face, run it through your nose, and ground the defense into the ground, or pound the defense into the ground, and that was just one way of playing football. In today's football, you are trying to get away from contact. You're trying to utilize your offensive line to create the holes. You're trying to use your offensive line and receivers to block, but also create the mismatches. And that's where you need a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs to be effective. And I don't think any of us can deny the fact, an NFL record of 49 touchdowns in 3 seasons, the most ever by a running back in 3 seasons. You absolutely want Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, if you're going to put the money aspect in front of it, that's a different conversation for me, because the money aspect tells me draft a rookie, keep Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Spend an early pick on a rookie, draft Jahmyr, draft an early running back, again, second round maybe. There was plenty in this draft that they could have had, and then keep David Montgomery. So yeah, you save, roughly 13, 15, 18 million a year, whatever it is. I'm not saying that Brian Branch is the future answer. I'm not saying Sam Laporte is the future answer, because I think those are other positions that you can't overpay at either. But the point is, it's not Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not that breakaway threat. A defense is going to play you differently when you have David Montgomery back there versus Jahmyr Gibbs. When you have Jahmyr Gibbs back there, they have to account for him on every single snap. Nobody is worried about him catching the football. Not one defense is worried about David Montgomery catching the football. Even though he could catch the football, and even though he could get you a few yards, he's not a dynamic top 20 receiver in the league that Jahmyr Gibbs is, and a top 2 running back that Jahmyr Gibbs is. It's a totally different.
I disagree, and I think Devin Witherspoon from the Seattle Seahawks would also disagree when he tried to tackle David Montgomery.
Yeah, one play doesn't excite me. Like, I want to see repetitions, and so you'll refer to one play. I respect that, and I respect the play, but I want to see repetitions. And I want to see repetitive football.
Back to my earlier point, though. Like, we're going to pay Jahmyr Gibbs a record-setting number.
Yeah.
And it's potentially going to cost us 1 to 2 other players on our team that are also Pro Bowl caliber players.
Yeah, Pro Bowl all-pro.
I understand the argument. I understand the argument of keeping the most dynamic running back in the league. but you're also keeping him at a cost. Like, the Packers just went through this, trading everything they did for Micah Parsons, even if he didn't get injured, trading everything for Micah Parsons, and then releasing everything to keep Micah Parsons. I don't want to see the Lions go through that struggle. And the Packers are kind of struggling. They got they're relying a lot of their hopes this year for a competitive playoff roster on the young rookies that they've drafted this year, last year, and the year before to pair with Michael Parsons to have that defense be as dominant as they're expecting it to be with Michael Parsons. But we don't need to have those hopes and dreams because that defense is dominant with Brian Branch, with Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph is neither here nor there because we don't know the future of him. Mm-hmm. We don't know if he's ever going to play it down again. He could take an injury settlement and retire from the league. That would also free up money. But I think Brad Holmes is being so loyal to these players, they're not necessarily being loyal to the logo. Because they're all saying, yeah, we're a team. It's all about the team. It's all about him, and it's all about him. But they all want to get paid and reset the market for their respective position, which is going to cause a huge cash flow problem, like you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Jared Goff got restructured. That's causing a balloon payment for 2027, 2028, 2029, and so forth. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, those balloon payments are going to hurt. And if we don't front load Jahmyr Gibbs' contract to offset that, then we're going to be in a much bigger problem, like you stated earlier, come 2028, where the release of Jared Goff might be a certainty rather than maybe we can finagle the numbers more. Like, I don't want to see this Lions team in the next 3 to 4 years without Jared Goff. He's still a young quarterback, super effective. I don't want to see this Lions team without Jameson Williams because of what he does to a defense, regardless if he has the ball or not.
You know,
your favorite player, Jahmyr Gibbs, is so dynamic and electric. I don't want to see the Lions team without him, but I don't want to risk 2 or 3 other players just to keep him, because this team is built off structure. And if you're removing the structure and the core to keep one dynamic athlete, then you're basically screwing the pooch.
So
you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, let's unpack that for a moment. So I should probably pull up the Lions contract situation here. Let me get that up here in just a second. But the one thing that I guess I would rest my hat on is I number one, I would not say that Brian Branch is the answer. I would not say that Jameson Williams is the answer. Honestly, I think next year or the year after that, one of the players that we will lose or could lose is going to be either Jameson Williams or it's going to be one of the 2 players that aren't getting their extension right now, Brian Branch and Sam Laporta. I think it's between those 3 players, and I'll explain why. JMO, and I know you don't agree with this, but I have to say it because I believe it to be true. You can find a receiver with speed in every draft. You can find receivers with speed in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round in every draft. Now,
yes, you can. Especially next year.
Yeah, but whether or not they become a viable weapon and a trusted weapon by your quarterback, that's a different story, right? Just because they have all the gifts and they can catch and they have speed, Well, can they do what J-Mo does? Yeah, I think a lot of receivers can. You know, had the Lions traded him last year and then went out and got Luther Bird III, like how amazing would that have been? Or had they obviously Chris Braswell's not a good not a good one because he's already torn his ACL or something. There's receivers 2, 3, 4, 5 in every single draft that can take the top off of defense and have the size. I mean, J-Mo's
100%.
like barely 6'1". He's not a big receiver.
J-Mo's, I understand what the site is telling you, but I believe he's 6'2".
Well, I'll put it this way. Out of practice, when you stand J-Mo next to Tesla, there is at least a 3-inch difference. At least. Tesla towers over everybody. And
Tesla's 6'4". He's a big boy.
right, but I'm telling you, there's more than a 3. I can see the tip of Tesla's face mask, the blue part, or the white part, whatever color it was, over J-Mo's head. And so when you stand Amon-Ra St. Brown next to J-Mo, they're almost the same size. J-Mo might be an inch taller. And Amon-Ra is supposedly 6 foot. I think he's closer to 5'11", but he's supposedly 6 foot.
He's 5'11".
So I'd say that their numbers are pretty spot on when you look back at a lot of the college history and what the Lions are reporting in NFL at the Combine. You just need to look at the Combine. Whatever was reported at the Combine is pretty damn accurate. You can't fake your height at that point. So I don't even know what it was. Here, I'll look it up.
I think on the Combine they have him listed at like 6'1" and 5/8 or something like that.
Well, we're going to find out.
But I believe he's 6'2". But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
that's neither here nor there.
See, it says he's 6'1.5". I don't see it. But if that's what they got, that's what they got. They had him at 179 pounds.
Yeah, he was very, very thin.
Wait a second.
That's neither here nor there.
Wait. Was he even at the Combine?
J-Mo? I believe he was at the Combine, but he didn't run no drill.
Well, no, he was injured, so I wonder if he even went through. I wonder if he even did anything, or if they just transplanted his information from Bama. I don't know if he was there. But anyway, I get what you're saying. So you're thinking that you should just not pay Gibbs? I think you can still pay Gibbs.
I'm thinking.
Remember,
this is what I'm thinking.
Hold on, Raw. Remember,
I'm thinking.
Remember, you can pay Gibbs now.
Yeah.
He's still only going to make about $4 or $5 million this year, plus whatever his bonus is, and then next year he's going to make 14.3 plus his bonus. That's minimal money to pay Jahmyr Gibbs for this year and next year. You can sign Gibbs right now and trade him after 27. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. If they sign Branch and they sign Laporta, then I think that Gibbs could get traded after 2027 because that's when that log jam happens with all of these contracts. Now, can you work it out so that you backload his deal in 2028 is not as expensive as some of the other backs? Yes, you could. But then
you take a bigger hit when you trade them.
Exactly.
Because when you trade a player, you still take a cap hit.
Yep. Now, the only way that it's worth it to take that big cap hit is basically the cap hit is going to be whatever that signing bonus was. And so that's where if you play the signing bonus game with Jahmyr Gibbs, then you're not going to give him a big signing bonus, right? You don't give him a big signing bonus because all of that money accrues for all those years, and whatever hasn't been paid, you have to pay that year. So if you give him a $30 million signing bonus, but then you trade him in 2 seasons, do the math. What is it? That's 5 years. You'd have $18 million getting taken out of your bank the day you trade them at a minimum $18 million. That's a big nut to crack. That doesn't include the rest of all the money that you would have to pay him, or would have to come off your cap hit. Excuse me, not pay him because you've already paid him. Your cap hit would be huge. So if you give him a small signing bonus, it helps with things like that. But I doubt Jahmyr Gibbs wants a small signing bonus. He's going to want something very close to what Bijan Robinson just got. And maybe he won't.
I think this is what Brad Holmes, I don't mean to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I think this is what Brad Holmes has in mind here. I think Brad Holmes is going to levy Gibbs to play out the remainder of this season under the current situation. At the end of this season, bar injury, I think he's going to trade Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to re-sign Laporta. He's going to re-sign Branch. He's going to keep these guys together. And he's going to trade Gibbs for a first in 2027 and maybe a third this year and then a third next year. But he's going to package it into where he can acquire an additional first-round pick in this year's draft, because this year's draft is going to be said to rival the 2023 draft, the 2011 draft, and you're going to see Brad Holmes retool this entire team like he did in 2023. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is pricing himself out of Detroit.
Well,
because Dan Campbell constantly talks about the core of this team. And they want to keep this core together. Unfortunately, you can't pay every player at every position market resetting value for your entire core team. Like somewhere, some way, something's got to break a little. You look around the league, you can't find safeties that fit inside the top 15 that are studded to start all pro safeties. You can't. There's maybe a small handful. Tight ends. It's a small handful again. You can name some good ones. You can't name great ones. There's maybe 5 or 6 great tight ends in the league right now. The tight ends are they're good and easy to recruit out of the draft. They're good to mold and develop. And somewhere you hit, somewhere you don't. But I think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell want to keep this core together, and Jahmyr Gibbs is simply pricing himself out.
I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs is pricing him out. I think that, you have to remember that we can't blame Gibbs because it's the agent that is in control. Gibbs is not in control of anything. Gibbs signed on with an agency, and that agency has 100% control over that player while they're under contract. So if that agent says, you know what?
Also the employer.
Well, you can fire him, but you're going to pay a big penalty. So if Gibbs, and every agency is this way. I mean, why not blame Aiden Hutchinson then? Let's blame Aiden Hutchinson for breaking the bank. He wanted the richest.
I think he broke the bank.
He did. He got the richest. He got the richest deal of all edge defenders.
I thought that was Myles Garrett.
No. Well, I mean, maybe Myles Garrett broke it after that, but if you look at here, I'll look it up real quick. Actually, I think we can do it right here.
I thought he was the 4th or 5th highest paid defensive end.
He might be now, yes, but didn't he get done before Myles Garrett?
He did sign before Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett already had a deal in place to where he was the highest paid player.
So I'm pretty sure.
And then he just got a new deal with LA right now. They just restructured and gave him a new deal.
Yeah, that was so they could make everything fit.
Yeah.
So when you look
prior
at
to Myles Garrett was still the highest paid player. I think Max Crosby was just above him as well, and Max Crosby was the 3rd highest paid player.
How am I not signed in again? This is ridiculous. I keep having to sign in, and then it just doesn't.
I think everything's going to be contingent on Kirby Joseph's contract right now, regardless. If Kirby can't play no more and he's able to just kind of back his way out of that deal and just take an injury settlement and retire from the league, I think that's going to do this team a world of favors.
Yeah, but they're still going to pay for that. Like, no matter what, the Lions are still going to be responsible, injury settlement or not. The Lions are still going to be
it's not going to be to the same degree.
Going to be pretty close. And it's
And
not,
then-
and his deal's not even that bad. Like if you look at Kirby Joseph's deal over the next several years, it's not that bad. But I don't want to get off topic. I want to go back to defensive ends, and I want to look at their contracts real quick, because when Aiden Hutchinson got paid, he had the largest overall value of guaranteed money of anybody. And so here's the contracts. There's got to be a way to slide this thing to the right. There we go.
If we're just looking at guaranteed money, Bijan Robinson's only getting $17 million a year.
That's a ton of guaranteed money for a running back. That's a ton. So here's Aiden Hutchinson. Guarantee at sign was only 55.48. Practical guarantee, I got to keep going to the right. His practical guarantee, 100 and, oh my God, this thing is so stupid. Like, why not have the bar up here that you can slide left to right? Like, wouldn't that just make more sense?
Yeah, probably.
My God.
They're not in the business of making sense. They're in the business of fitting as many ads on the screen as possible.
Well, they don't like my ad blocker. I pay for the premium so I don't get ads.
Well, that's good.
It's only $30 a year. It's not that bad. But I'm trying to fit it all on the same damn screen, and it's just being ridiculous. So there you go. Now you'll see it. Practical guarantee. Aiden Hutchinson has the largest guarantee out of all edge defenders. $140.5 million. His guarantee at sign. The reason why I said Brad Holmes made this incredible deal with Aiden's agency. He had $55.4 million in practical or in guarantee at sign. What did I just say a minute ago about Jahmyr Gibbs? That if you're able to play the guarantee game and you're able to keep that initial guarantee low at signing, then if you trade Aiden Hutchinson in a couple of years, you can trade him for next to nothing, because all you owe him is the guarantee at sign, not the overall number. So Aiden Hutchinson at $54.5 million roughly of guarantee at sign. If you trade him next year, I think all the Lions lose is like $19 million on the whole deal. Like that's not a bad place to be. You could lose Aiden Hutchinson next year or the year after. I know that's wild, but you could. But he wanted the most guarantee out of anybody. Now this is just edge defenders. I don't know why I don't see Myles Garrett in here. I'm just going to go all defense. Maybe that'll help. Oh my God. This site is the best and the worst. Every time I click it, it decides to do something stupid.
There's, to fill the dead air here, there's 2 players on the Lions. Technically, there's 4 players on the Lions that I would not trade. But I'm not going to include Sewell or Aleem McNeil. I'm going to include Jared Goff. I would not trade him for anything, because what he's able to do with the ball is incredible. The ball placement to allow his playmakers and dynamic wide receivers to do what they do after the catch is absolutely so underrated. The other player I wouldn't trade is Jameson Williams, because you don't have to watch JMO's highlights. Watch Amon-Ra St. Brown's highlights. Watch Sam Laporta's highlights. Watch Tesla's. Watch Jahmyr Gibbs. Watch how the defense reacts to Jameson Williams and the routes he's running compared to everybody else. Jameson Williams opens up other players on the team. Like, I haven't seen anybody do that since Tyreek Hill, since Julio Jones, since Calvin Johnson. He's opening up the offense to expose the defense in a multiple facet of ways that defenses are employing the bend but don't break philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
They're bending to give up the underneath stuff so that Jameson doesn't break them, or what Jahmyr Gibbs does, which is a 60, 70-yard TD. Now, it's easier for JMO to break the defense than it is for Jahmyr to break the defense, because Jahmyr's got to run past 11 other players.
Yeah, I would highly disagree with that. I think you're giving JMO too much credit, because right now you have you have 5 legit weapons on the field, and no defense can pay attention. I mean, they have to pay attention to all of them. You can't turn your attention away. So if JMO was on the Vikings team, he wouldn't be doing anything. If it was him and Justin Jefferson and what they have on that team, he wouldn't be doing squat. Even if he had a better quarterback, even if he had Sam Darnold back, he would still be the player that he is. Now, when you introduce Justin Jefferson on this offense versus JMO, then it changes the dynamic.
We have a Justin Jefferson on this offense.
We don't.
And Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Well,
and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Look, Raw, production is different from speed. Production is way different than speed. And Justin Jefferson has both. But I would disagree that JMO is the sole responsible person for allowing other players to get open. I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, all of them, and now Isaac Tesla, are all responsible for getting everybody open, because no defense can be spread that thin and let somebody be open. I mean, you can't cover everybody at the same time. But now let's go back to the defense like I was talking about with the edge, because I figured it out. So here's Myles Garrett's new, I'm just going to go to each player. Myles Garrett's new deal, he only got $99 million guaranteed. 99. He had a $208 million overall contract, but only 99 of it is guaranteed. He wanted to win a Super Bowl, and that's what he thinks he's going to do in LA. But he only has $99 million guaranteed. That means if LA trades him after next year, and after they pay him whatever they're paying him this year, they might have a cap hit of 30, 40, 50 million, whatever it is. And that's actually not a bad place to live. Or if they walk away from him in 2 years, that's not a bad place to be. Now, for Aiden is the one that is going to hamstring this team. He has a $180 million overall contract. Yes, that is $20 million less than Myles Garrett, but it's not the overall number that you worry about. It's this number right here. $140.5 million guaranteed. That is the number that kills your team. I don't care about the $45 million a year. I don't care about the 4 years, $180 million. I care about this number right there. And then the second most important number, maybe the first most important number, is the amount that was guaranteed at sign. And he looks like he included a $15 million signing bonus, an average annual salary of $45 million. And then in 2026, he gets another signing bonus of 28.4. So every year that he makes the roster after the third day or the fourth day of the new league year, that is when Brad Holmes is giving him more guarantee. But see, he has to make the roster. So if the Lions trade him before the new league year, he doesn't make that guaranteed money. So it was a very smart way to put the contract together, because you could trade or get rid or cut Aiden at any point in time. If he doesn't make the roster, he doesn't get the rest of the guarantee. The flip side of that is this is what is going to hamstring your team, because next year, this year, he got $28.4 million in more signing bonus. And he got another cap hit, of $10.2 million roughly. And now he carries a dead cap of 71.4. That is the biggest number on this team that is going to hurt this team. And I don't know about you, but I think that offense carries bigger weight than defense. And if you don't have your offensive players, if you have 5 offensive players, you don't need a defense to be as good. They just all have to be on the field. We've seen it. We've seen it for 3 years. The offense has been winning the games. The defense barely wins games. It's nice when they work together. But Myles Garrett isn't playing to handicap the Rams or the Browns. He barely has any guaranteed money. It's 50%. Micah Parsons, what
well,
is he?
The Browns took a big hit when they traded him. They ate a lot of that money.
Micah
Not a lot, but
yeah.
they ate dead cap.
Yeah,
Mike trading Myles Garrett.
It's because they just signed him. So Micah Parsons, $136 million guaranteed. Right? He's going to hurt the Packers eventually because there's just not enough money to go around. Nick Bosa, what does he got? $122 million guaranteed. Those are big numbers. Those are really big numbers. And so the difference is, the player, Bijan Robinson, that just signed his deal today, what did he get? Wasn't it like 70% guaranteed? That's a lot of money. And that can hurt your team, quicker than anything else. So for Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, I get it. I don't see how you can trade Jahmyr Gibbs or not sign him right now. I think you absolutely need to sign him. And I think you can walk away from him.
I think we can keep him under his current deal right now. He's still signed a deal for the rest of 2026 and the rest of 2027.
He won't play.
Because the franchise tag doesn't kick in, or the fifth-year option doesn't kick in until the following year, right?
Till next year.
Yeah. So technically, Brad Holmes could force him to play under this current scheduling and then trade him at the end of the 2026 season before the 2027 draft. And he could accumulate the picks, enter that draft, and to continue to rebuild this roster.
So I think I said that this morning, something very similar, and then his contract would toll if Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't suit up and play before week 6 or the last 6 weeks of the season. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that Brad's going to force him to do anything. I think that they're going to get the deal done. So let's kind of go through Bijan Robinson's deal, and I'll explain why that this deal signing Jahmyr Gibbs can work. And at least it works temporarily. It doesn't mean that we're going to be able to keep everybody next year, but temporarily it works. So Bijan Robinson, he signed a 3-year, $66.75 million base contract, right? It's a max of $75 million. He has $51 million in guaranteed money, an average annual salary of $22.25. And in 2026, after signing this new deal, remember, he's on basically the same kind of deal that Jahmyr Gibbs is right now. His base salary is $1.14. He'll get a roster bonus of 2.6, and he'll carry a cap hit of right around $7 million. So that means this year, Jahmyr Gibbs' cap hit is going to be $7 million, roughly. Next year, in 2027, his base salary balloons up to 11.3, and his cap hit is 11.3. That is peanuts to pay Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs when their 5th-year option was 14.3, or maybe Gibbs will be 14.3 because 11.3 might have been Bijan Robinson's 5th-year option. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if he got the same Pro Bowl type stuff that Jahmyr did. That all factors into that 5th-year option. So even if you pay Jahmyr, you sign him this year and you pay him $7 million this year and $14 million next year, well, then you're on the hook in 2028 when that deal comes due. You can trade him. Tell me a team in 3 more seasons after another $90 million is added to the salary cap that they wouldn't take on Bijan Robinson. That they wouldn't take on Jahmyr Gibbs. I think just about any team would. Any team with cap flexibility would. And I think that the Lions can get some deals done with the other players to hopefully limp it along for a year or two. But again, in 28, man, that's when everything converges. And I think if you sign Jahmyr now, in 28, someone's going. Someone has to go. Because you're going to have other players right behind them that you're going. Blake Miller will then be due. Right? Derek Moore will then be due. Aiden will be due again. Jared Goff will be due again. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell will be due again pretty soon. So it's all going to come crashing down, I think, in 2028. What else did you want to add today?
Hopefully we can win a couple Super Bowls by then.
And I think that's the goal, man. I mean, I think that you at least want to win one. I got to take a brief break because Gunner's yelling at me, and then when I get back, I'm going to wrap it up. Raw, have a good night, man. Appreciate the call.
Have a good night.
Middle caught inside the 5. Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 14 yards on the strike. Goff to Gibbs. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
Nice job.
Jared takes the snap back, looking, throwing middle. Got Amon-Ra inside the 2, to the 1, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Amon-Ra, St. Brown.
Nice job.
Mariota's got it back. Pressure comes. He's hit. Slips out of it. Rolling to his right. Now he's going down. Brian Branch got him. Sack for the Lions. Snap taken by Mariota. Wants to throw it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked.
Yes,
Take it down. Brian Branch got him second time today.
Nice job.
Hands it to Gibbs, running right, runs through a tackle, gets down to the 10, Gibbs to the 5, still fighting, down to the 2, down to the 1, to the end zone! Yes. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! He did not quit!
All right, we're going to get back in. We're going to wrap this thing up here in a couple of seconds.
Off to throw again, does, middle, J-Mo, angling to the end zone.
All right, so there was a conversation happening in the chat earlier that someone said that Kirby is done. Someone get me up to speed. What's going on here? Something about a doctor? Are we talking about Dr. Liao? So, I mean, look, no shade at Dr. Liao. I mean, he is a doctor, right? I don't know if anyone's checked his credentials. But I'll tell you this, you can check credentials on Laura, and I happened to check somebody's credentials out the other day. Let's just say someone's not a real doctor or not a real, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Or at least that's what came up. Not a full-fledged doctor. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, I don't know if Dr. Liao's doctor or not, and whether... You know, I mean, it sounds like he is. I don't know the guy personally. And I think he does put a lot of good information together. But what happens on the internet more than anything is, you're right. People are looking for clicks, man. That's what this is all about. And unfortunately, people are just, and I hate to use this word, they're whores for clicks. They just are. Whatever they can do to sow divide in the fan base, whatever they can do to create a negative connotation towards Brad Holmes, whatever they can do to drive a narrative about players that they love and players that they don't like. I think I've always been fairly honest about every player. Some players I'm more critical on than others because those players were drafted earlier. Those players make a lot of money, so they're going to be under the watchful eye, right? But I've always noticed with other creators, at least in the past, that and even in this year, man, they will never say one bad thing about a U of M player. Not one bad thing. I think that tells you enough. When these players make it to the pros, they are no longer a U of M player. They are a alumnus. They're no longer playing for the old Maize and Blue. They play for the Honolulu Blue. If you can't be open and transparent about every player, then what's the point? But the clickbait is just real. And this whole Kirby stuff, I mean, Kirby set the internet on fire, the other day. But he's also been working and working out, and he looks great. There hasn't been any setbacks. What does Dr. And I haven't watched this video. I have no clue what was said. So you can make me intelligent. Does he have images of Kirby Joseph's knee? Does he have an MRI? Does he have a direct report? You told Kirby to contact me. Kirby and I have shared things. I mean, somebody enlighten me. Is there any sort of a MRI? Is there a contrast image? Anything that they had to talk about Kirby's knee intelligently? Because if they don't have that, they don't know. And here's what I will tell you. Based on what I've learned and what I have heard, and I don't know how accurate it is either, but that's why I've never definitively come out there and said, he's cooked, he's done, it's over. Yeah, it seems a little bit cautious, that even more so red flag that he's not playing after 11 months. However, there is a player by the name of Jadeveon Clowney that, from what I have gathered and understood, and I think I told you guys this months ago, has the same issue that Kirby does. And Jadeveon Clowney was never given a big bag by a team, and he bounced around from team to team to team on all these short deals because no team was willing to invest in him, because at any moment that knee was going to explode. Well, guess what happened for Jadeveon Clowney? He has been fairly, if not completely, dependable. I get it why he didn't end up in Detroit, because Brad didn't want to take that risk. Not with a knee, not in that condition. But they've already paid Kirby. And Kirby's a big part of this team and a big part of this defense. And if he's healthy to play, there's no reason why you walk away. If he's got the ability to play, there's no reason why you walk away. If they have the ability to rehab him, there's no reason why you walk away. Now, there's some things you can't fix. But how is it that Jadeveon Clowney has been able to play several seasons in the NFL? How many years has he played now? Like 7? Because this happened, I believe, in his rookie year. He's been in the league a lot longer than that. He's been in the league since 2015. And his knee injury was in 2014, before the NFL, apparently. So in 2014, he suffered a right lateral meniscus tear during the season opener. And then he underwent microfracture surgery on the same knee after experiencing lingering cartilage damage and complications, sidelined him for an extended 9-month recovery. Now, Kirby didn't have any surgeries that we know of. Hasn't been reported. I think it has to be reported. But a 9-month recovery is about on pace with where Kirby is today. 2017 and 2018, he underwent minor arthroscopic cleanup surgeries on his knees following a 2016 and 2017 NFL seasons, probably to keep himself going, right? As more damage incurred in the knee, he had it cleaned out. In 2022, he dealt with a minor grade 1 knee strain while playing for the Browns. He missed just 1 game. When you look at how many games he has played since having this knee injury that has been compared to a very similar situation of Kirby. Now, these are very rare circumstances. But here we go. In 2015, he played 13 games. In 2016, he played 14, then 16, then 15, then 13, then 8, then 14, then 12, then 17, then 14, then 13. If we were to get an average of 13 games a year out of Kirby, isn't that better than 0? And he's already paid? But if you had to manage Kirby to where maybe he only plays 50% of the snaps, maybe you get a full season. He's played 153 games on a knee that he was told was never going to be able to play in the NFL. That is why I am not ready to give up on Kirby Joseph. Am I cautious? Yes. Am I an optimist? Yes. But I think that Kirby Joseph is too valuable on the field when he's healthy. He's one of the best safeties out there. He's one of the best ball hawkers out there. Now, does he miss some assignments? Yes. Do all players? Yes. But you also know me, the individual that said when Kirby had that massive season in 2024, they should have traded him. Why? Because it is more likely to find a really good safety in the draft, and you already had Brian Branch. It would have been easier to bring in a vet on a much lower deal and draft a premium safety. And there was a couple of premium safeties coming out of that draft, and the Lions didn't do it. And there was another premium safety coming out of 25's draft, and he won a Super Bowl as a rookie. Again, it's not throwing shade at Kirby. It's just the business side of it. You would hate me as a GM because some of your favorite players wouldn't be on the team forever. And it's not that I wouldn't have player loyalty. I absolutely would have player loyalty. But there's a business side to everything. And in a multi-billion-dollar business, you can't miss very much. And Brad Holmes doesn't miss very much. And on this one, he kind of snuck up and bit him, man. It was like a cobra in the weeds. It snuck up and it got him. Did they do enough before they signed him? Did they check him out enough? Maybe not. We'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know. Let's see. I don't know if this was recent with this whole Dr. Liao thing, but when Kirby put that video out where he was livid, and that was last week, Thursday, I think. That was when I thought that Liao said some things. Was last Thursday. And so if he's just a family doctor playing an ortho, and again, allegedly, I don't know, then he should shut the hell up. Because you're not a trained ortho. That's actually malpractice. You can't practice out of scope as a doctor, just like you can't practice out of scope as a lawyer. Can't practice out of scope. That's like saying I'm a psychologist, but I'll do heart surgery for you. Can't do that. Now, if it was an emergency and you knew a few things, well, you might get away with it. But, tough times call for tough reactions, I guess. But not in this case. If you're not an ortho, if you've never operated on a knee, you shouldn't be talking about it. That's why I always state, I'm not a doctor. I've personally been through some things, so I know a few things, but I don't know his situation. But based on what has been said, based on the word wear and tear by Dan Campbell, that gave it away that there had to be a cartilage issue. Do we still know if there's a cartilage issue? We don't. We have no idea. Do we know if there's an arthritic condition? We don't. No idea. But why? Because they haven't told us. They haven't told us. I hope for Kirby's sake that he's able to get on the field. But I think for Dan Campbell's sake and for, or at least for Brad Holmes, at the end of the day, he has a contract and he's under contract. So if you were to get rid of Kirby right now, unfortunately, it's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And that may not be worth them trying to do everything that they can to get Kirby on the field. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think that the better development around all of this is look at the players that are on, in practice right now that are getting an extra opportunity to be ready for the season. And so far, our defense has produced. And it's early. I get that. And the defense is winning anytime that you have a brand new offense, brand new OC. The offense is going to struggle. I warned y'all. I told you that the offense was going to struggle in the beginning. And they are. But I also warned you that any time that your offense is struggling against your own defense, that is a good thing. Because your defense should know your offense, right? And your offense should know your defense. And so if your offense is struggling to move the football at will, then that means you probably have a really good defense happening. Because your offense should know how to pick you apart. Kirby's deal right now is a max value of $86 million. This year, he's only making $5.5 million with a $5.5 million cap hit. $5.5 million cap hit. I never understand what the cash number is. Maybe signing bonus. I'm not sure. His average salary is $21.5. Signing bonus of 10. I mean, think about that number. He got a very cheap signing bonus. Basically, what is that? 12%, roughly? Was that like 12% of his overall number? $11.6%. And he was only guaranteed $24 million at sign. So that means his total guarantee number of $36 million, he was given 10 up front. And then he's owed 24 later. So if the Lions were to walk away from him, I think the most that they could end up paying on this deal is $24 million, right? Depending on what you paid him already. So if they walked away, I mean, is it the end of the world? No. Let's do a pre-June 1 release. What happens? You do a pre-June 1 release, they take on that $23.7 million cap hit in 2027. Pre-June 1. What about a post-June 1? Then you can spread it out. 13.9 next year, 9.8 the year after that. Is that a lot of money to wave by to Kirby? Yes. But at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of this giant contract that they gave him, is it really going to set the Lions back? No, it's not. When you look at the bottom number, the Lions are really losing $4.8 million by doing it that way. What about this year? It would be a post-June 1. And they would end up tacking on or have a $13.9 million cap hit this year and a $6 million cap hit next year. So $19.9 million, we'll call it, is what it takes to walk away from Kirby. $19.9 million. It's basically 1 year of his salary. at the biggest number in his contract. So I think that the Lions are okay in letting this just kind of marinate for a little bit. How about we just don't do anything? What happens? Well, his cap hit this year is 5.5, and his cap hit next year is only 9.2. The year after that is 13, and the year after that is 17.9. It's not that bad of a deal, but see where all these voids get kicked in, that's where it gets escalated. So his number is low, in my opinion, for the way that this contract was put together with all these void years, 4 void years, to kick that can way out. It's not that bad of a deal for the Lions to try to work through it. You're not going to be able to replace Kirby Joseph for 5.5 or 9.2 million if he is able to play. And nobody's trading for him. So you have 2 options, cut him or try to fix him. And if you can't fix him, then you manage him. And if you can manage him to play at least 50% of the snaps, is he worth $5.5 million at 50% of the snaps taking a roster spot? Yes. That's why you run a little bit more nickel and you keep him off the field. I think the Lions are in a great spot. Yeah, Edge, I was supposed to leave a long time ago. I better get out of here. It's almost 10 o'clock. Got me hot on Kirby, man. All right, 6'1", and I dropped another pound today. I am 242.7 pounds. Weight loss journey. I'll be down to 215 in no time. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.